have a number of little locker boxes that we've got to dot around the next level that we build up. So I'm just prepping all these, cleaning them up, ready for painting along with other parts and the guns that we need to build up. And it's really annoying, but the sprue gate has been placed in the most inconvenient place. So it's right between the only detail on there, on both of them. I mean, why wouldn't they put it there? where you're going to cut that bit off anyway? I mean, ridiculous. But anyway, Trumpeter like to give you a challenge. So just cleaning them back with a knife because I can't get in with a sanding stick really particularly well. Yeah, it's just really inconvenient. So this one, which is the easier one, we can scrape the top smooth, and once under paint that's not going to be noticeable. On the thinner one, you've also got to sort out, you've got two surfaces. The sprue gate's on this one surface here, but you've also got to preserve the lip, the overhang. So yeah, so you've got to cut it in two different directions. So to do that, we want to cut the depth of the lip into it first, and then gently take away this surface and then trim the lip down to the thickness we need. And it's not easy, but I thought I'd show you one just to give you an idea of how I go about that, because you do get these difficult sprue gates from time to time. So there we go, that's the lip depth done. Now all we've got to do is trim that down to the same width as the rest of it. And what I am going to do is, using a triangular file, I'm just going to flatten that surface a little bit. There we go. So that's that done. Just more hassle than you need really. If they put the sprue gate on the bottom, you just cut it off the sprue and you'd be ready to go. Right. I've got a few more of those to do, and then we'll have a look at the guns. My step 22 and 23 consists of all these little parts here, which makes up just 2 of 8 ultimately of these guns. And as you can see, the MK1 set adds some bits and pieces to it as well. There is some photo etch in the kit for this as well. So gonna have a look at both of those and see what I think. The photo etch from the kit is basically just 2 seats. So I don't know whether the MK1 set replaces the seat or it's that bit there and that's the kit seat. I think that might be the kit part, so we might just have additional parts. So I'm going to get them all out and we'll have a look. It's going to be fiddly.
Got one, thank you.
scavengers. Get them up. Coach Vaniwa. Kwa. Ya ekpo manina brevede. Kickpo nuwa.
Stay with the horses. She's gonna die.
I don't know. The bullet's still in there.
It's a lot of blood.
It's Obi.
Location no sugar. What is it?
Riders, I don't know. I don't know what they're here for.
There's an attack on.
Well, I have to admit, that looks a little odd. It's very close to the seats. I guess it moves, but yeah, that looks odd. So I've given it a slight elevation. See if we can make that work for us. Just need the camera to focus. It's not behaving today. Right, guns is the next bit. I have brass replacement barrels for the guns. They have a little pin so that you can drill a tiny hole and pin it in. I generally find that never really works, so I tend to take the pin off and just cut it square on. So I'm going to tidy this up, take the seam off it because there's quite a bit of seam on there, and get that nub off it. And then we'll take the barrel off and glue that on and see what that looks like. Well, you're supposed to push this barrel in so it will elevate. It has a couple of pins, and you can see the gun is supposed to mount on these holes, clipping into pins, but the reality is the whole gun emplacement is too fragile for you to be pushing parts in and using force. So I'm going to remove one of the pins and see if we can get it in on the pin on just one side, and if we can't, then I'll take the other pin off as well, and then we'll glue the barrel on last. No, that's still not going to work, so we need to take both the pins off. So now I know that on the rest of them I can remove the pins as part of the cleanup of that part. So we might as well take the other pins off while we're at it. There we go. So that should just drop into place now. Perfect. Make sure it's nice and square, because there's nothing that looks worse than wonky barrels. Okay, I'm going to sort the other one out while that dries, and then we can put the barrels on. Well, that's the first of 7 of these guns that we have to build. It is very fiddly and very time consuming, but it looks alright now it's done. So that can be put to one side to be painted. I'm going to go and build the other one off camera, and then we'll see what we're doing next. I want to build up some parts before we do some painting, I think. I want to build this part up because we'll use it to make sure we've got good spacing of the little lockers that we need to put in. This part needs a little bit of work. There's some seam we need to take off around here. You can just see that in the light. But also look at that porthole and how elongated that is because of the moulding process on the curve. So we need to fill that. I need to check that these are in the right place anyway. We have some nice electrical boxes and cabling detail on here which I want to preserve, but we need to remove all of the hand irons and just make sure that the surface is nice and smooth for the etch replacement ones. So yeah, and we've also got eyebrows and bits and pieces we can take off, so it needs a little bit of clean up. We can do much of that once we've sandwiched these two parts together. I just need to, there we go. So I just need to clean up the nubs so we can get this together, and then I want to test fit this part, which locates in here, and I can already see that fits quite tight. So and then I've got a part that fits in the back there, another bit of deck. So let's get this put together, I think. Now here where we've got these pipes, obviously the curve means that we're well, they don't look correct. So what we can do is just scribe underneath them to round them off, and that'll give them a much better look. Once you've passed a couple of times, it's quite easy to stay on course. And all it's doing is, because it's a solid line down, because it needs to come out of the tooling, what we're doing is rounding it off, and it just gives it a much better look. There we go, that looks a lot better. Actually looks like spherical pipe work now. Okay, so I've got a little bit of cabling that I don't want to lose, so I'm just going to cover that while I gently sand off these hand irons and take that wriggle off as well. And then just scrape the last two off. It's not quite as effective as sanding. There we go. Okay. And then we've got a wriggle here. Again, I can't sand it because it's right next to some cabling. So we'll just scrape that away. Okay, so that's that one done. I'll do the other one off camera and then we'll have a look at the fit. The fit of the part once cleaned up is quite nice, so we can just glue that from the inside. Pinch it together a sec, and then when we fill the portholes there, we can sand it all up. So that all looks good. Now this particular part that goes into it, we've got some ejector pins to deal with underneath. They are slightly sunk, so I'm hoping we can just sand them out. Yeah, nearly gone. There we go, that's good. And then we sand the sides, get rid of the nub evidence from the sprue gates. Make sure everything's nice and square. That all looks good. So let's just check the fit of that. Fit of that is nice and tight. So happy with that. Yeah, that's all good. So that allows us to place our little items around the side and make sure that the spacings are correct, so we don't have a fit problem with that. So that actually could be painted up now. There is a photo etch frame that goes under this, but yeah, I suppose we could add that and glue it on ready for painting, couldn't we? Although probably best to get the other bits and pieces done with this first, so we'll leave it as 2 parts for now. Part has a little rangefinder on it, so I think we can probably build that up ready for paint as well, which will allow us to assemble that quite quickly when we're ready to. I just want to check the fit though of this deck that goes in the back here. I think it goes in that way. Well, the fit of that is nice as well. So that can probably be placed in there when we're painting to mask that bit off, and then we can take it out and glue it back in. So that's a good idea. We'll leave that in for now. Right, let's have a look at the little rangefinder. This is a rare occasion where we've got no photo etch either from the kit or the MK1 set, so this is just a nice bit of plastic on plastic gluing, which is nice. Okay, it's a little bit, you have to be careful not to miss it. There is a little bit of seam, mould seam, just on the back here. Okay, so we've got 2 little parts to go into there, so have a look at cleaning up of those. So the nub was right on the end. That's probably the most visible part, so we just need to sand that off. And then we've got a little bit of seam to deal with. It's only tiny, but it will show up on paint, so we don't want that there. Okay, let's just do a test fit, get the right side. There we go, that goes in okay, so we might as well glue that in while we're at it. So I'll do the other one off camera, but that's then done. And that will sit in there. That sits there quite nicely, doesn't it? I think actually, looking at the fit of it, there's no reason why we can't glue that in and paint that thing as a whole. I think that would probably make more sense. So I'm going to do that. There we go, decision made. So I'll clean up that other one and get that on, and then we'll have a look at any other parts before we paint. Next, rangefinder to pull together now, and a little bit of photo etch on this. This is all kit supplied photo etch this time. So we can start by putting the base on, which has a little location lug. That pops in nicely. There we go. And I can now put that in a little clamp while we build up the rest of it. What I hadn't noticed until just then is there's a little moulding seam on the side there, so I'm just going to take that off. Just check the back, yeah. Usually on things like this that have been slide moulded, it runs all the way across, so I can't see it on the top. Right, so then we've got a little strip of photo etch rivets that we can put on this raised area here. So we'll just put some CA down and place that on. Just going to hold that down because I think I slightly bent it actually picking it up. There we go, so that's all in place. And then we've got this little ladder. So it has 4 contact points that are really, really tiny. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the contact points. And hope that's enough. So there's a couple of little holes in the top there, so you can locate the ladder correctly. Which is just there. There we go. And then we have these that face that way. So the ladder's at the front, that's interesting. I don't think there's a particular... I don't think it matters which one you put on each side is what I was about to say. Check their level. Yeah, they're sitting nicely. And then on the top we have a little, looks like a mushroom vent, but on the top it's got like a little hatch like detail on it, so I'm not quite sure what it is. And then finally we've got this little spreader, which I think we'll be having some rigging on at some point. There we go. So that's built up. There's no MK1 additional stuff for that. I've got to check the anatomy of the ship though, actually, because I haven't done that. I'm going to re-glue that ladder because it's clearly not on, it's just hanging in place. What we'll do is we'll put some glue on the contact points again. And I'll also put a tiny amount on the location area. See if that improves things a little. There you go, that's on. That's on, that looks good. Does that look straight though? Does now. Right, so that can also be put to one side, ready to be painted. And the last thing I want to do before we do any painting is this. So this has got some little parts to add on to it. Some of the parts get added on after it's installed. But I need to have a look and see what the MK1 set does with all of this. So I wonder if they replace them or not. Looking at it, there's quite a bit of work to do. So I'm going to leave this for now so that we can get on with painting. I've got the other gun to build off camera. And what I need to get to is a point where I can do painting when I have my next modelling session later in the week. So I'm going to leave that for now. We'll put it away and I'll build the other bits and pieces off camera. And then next thing we should see is some airbrush action, I think. With various parts all painted up, we can get to an assembly stage now. Always a fun part for me. So we have the crane that needs to be mounted in. I wondered if it was going to balance or not. Just gonna rest it in there for a minute. And then that's going to mount on top, so I'm just going to do a test fit before we do any gluing. There we go. Okay, it all fits, but it's going to be trickier than I would like. Okay, we'll put some glue down and see how we crack on with that. Okay, I'm using precision plastic glue for this. It's a nice thick glue, but also quite slow setting, which is handy for the job at hand. as you can see. There we go. That's all in, that's good. So make sure that we've got these set at the angle that we want. Excellent. So we've got some steps and some railings to put in there, but we can come back and do those. We can access those easy enough. Right, we're going to plop this into place just so that we can make sure that when we fit the little lockers that they're fitting okay, not getting in the causing an obstruction for that, because that sometimes happens. Right, so we've got observation equipment to put on the platforms, but obviously we can't use plastic glue for those, so I'll have to come back to those in a minute or so. So I'm just going to put them to one side and get myself some tweezers. Right, so got to do these in the right order. We've got one little locker, which goes there. Oh, that fits nice. With having put a wood deck down, sometimes you can get a little bit of interference from the adhesive or any little offcuts of deck laminate or even the backing film sometimes. So sometimes you've got to get in there with a knife and jimmy it around. But we seem to be okay with that. Just checking whether there's a front or a back. On these ones there isn't. I'd be best doing the ones I can actually see, wouldn't I? So that's on this side. Yeah, definitely an obstruction in that one and in that one. Right, so let's just get our knife and there we go. Make sure there's nothing foul in that hole. Shortened the length of the peg because they were quite long and I was a bit concerned that that might cause me a problem. Why is that one coming out now? I don't know. Try another one. It's quite fiddly doing this, and my position isn't ideal because of the camera. I can't quite see as well as I would ordinarily be able to, but yeah, that one fits as well. There we go, and then we've got some different lockers that go just at this point here against that bulkhead. Yeah, they fit okay. Okay, you get the idea, so I'll come back to you in a mo. Well, that's the lockers in. The fit is really tight here. So I'm really concerned about the paintwork when I come to place this. I'm actually gently squeezing the plastic to get it to pop in. There we go. So it does go in and it'll look great when it's done, but we've got some work to do on this yet. So we'll put that to one side. I guess the next thing we can look at is the crane tops, which go on here. So let's get them. So we have to remember that these were 3D printed resin, so these will need a bit of CA, but they go on nicely. So what I'm going to do is glue these in a minute, but I think we can do the guns with plastic glue. So let's do that first, and then we've got a couple of other bits we can install as well. So once again, just test fitting. Got to be so careful of these because of the amount of photo etch on them. It's a little tight, so we'll open that up. There we go, that fits now. So apply some glue in the hole. The reason why we put it in the hole, I must have said this before, is if you put it in the peg, it oozes up and out, whereas if you put it in the hole, it gets pushed in. So it just helps ensure that you don't have oozy glue everywhere. Let's put the gun at a bit of a jaunty angle. Always try and put a bit of animation in if we can. I'm going to assume this one won't fit, so we'll just open that up a little bit as well. And we'll try fitting this one. Yep, no problem. There we go. That looks fabulous with the guns on. Right, let's get a rangefinder on. I have to make sure that they face the right way. So we have already test fitted these. We know that these are okay. So we can just go straight in with the glue there. As always, trying to glue on the inside of the plastic rather than the outside, though there's no guarantees in life. Okay. There, that looks really good. We are making some nice progress. Okay. I'm going to do those other bits off camera. I'll come back to you when we're doing some CA gluing, but before that, I've also got the rangefinder to go in here, so let's just do a test fit of that. Well, that fits nicely. should be sufficient. There we go. Looking rather nice. Right, I'll get some CA out and we'll have a look at those other bits once I've put the other one of those in. Well, originally on the plastic platform there's a location pin for these, but now of course there isn't, so it's just a matter of holding it in place while the glue dries type of thing, really. So let's have a go. Yeah, it's not going to want to stand up on its own. Didn't think it would, but it's always worth a quick go. Thought I had it that time. We will win. There is only going to be one winner. There we go. Just need to touch that in. Next time we got the paint out we can do that, which will probably be for railings and things soon anyway. So let's get one of these cable reels on. So let's get some glue on the position rather than on the piece, I think. Now there is some rigging to be done, which we can take a view of a little bit later on. So the MK1 set supplies photo etch rigging. I much prefer the idea of using some AK line or something similar. There we go. Key thing is to make sure that it's lined with the crane. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. I can show you that now. Right, I'll put the other one on, and then I think next job is forming some railings.